Hey, second graders, happy Friday. I'm excited this week. I'm going to teach you guys how to do something that I always do with my students at the end of the year in second grade. We're going to make origami golden snitches. I've got the directions right here, and I will share that website with you when I'm done today. I'd like to show you a couple examples. Here's one that I made earlier this morning. And here's a blue one. And then once you get good at it, and it does take a few tries, then you can start trying some different sized ones. I've even had kids, once they become very adept, they've actually done some of these with Post-it notes, which is not easy. All right, let's get started. Okay, the first thing that you need to do is make sure that the paper that you're using is perfect square. You can't use rectangle. So if you just have white, like regular white paper, 8.5 by 11, you're going to have to measure and cut so that it's a perfect square. And I'd recommend that you make a few sheets because be prepared. You are going to make some mistakes. The first try, maybe the second, and maybe even the third try, it might not come out right. But I guarantee you every year, if you stick with it and you work really hard and follow the directions well, eventually you will be a pro. And these are really fun. Okay, so what you're going to need to do is get your square, turn it so one of the tips is facing your belly button. And I always kind of go like this with my hands, and then you're going to lift the bottom corner, lift it up over and match it up exactly with the top corner. Now I'm going to teach you some techniques that over the years, they work really well. So try really hard to do these. For one thing, don't make your creases up in the air. Always hold them down on a flat surface. So I'm going to hold that pretty tight with my left hand while I run my right fingers down to the crease, and while you're still hanging on tight, slide over to the right, then slide over to the left. Now it should look like this. Okay, this is one of the most important tips that I can give you, and that is once you make a crease, and I mean every single crease, you're going to want to hold on to this, and you're going to want to take your thumbnail and your forefinger and scrape along it. I call it making crispy creases. And you can literally, if you listen, you can hear that. And so now this is really sharp. Okay, lay it back down, open it up. Now turn it this way, and then you're going to do the same thing again. So you're going to put your hands like this, lift the bottom up and over, and match up that tip really well. And while you're holding on, slide your other hand down, slide over, come back to the center, slide over. Now it looks like that, okay? Now do the same thing, lift this up, crispy crease. I am going to say with origami, it's really important to match up tip to tip, edge to edge. The more precise your folding is and the crispier your creases, the better the outcome. Okay, so now you're going to open this back up, and now I want you to flip it over, but instead of having one of the corners facing you, just have it like that. So it looks kind of like the roof of a little building. Okay, now we're going to put our hands like this, lift the bottom up over again, and this time I want you to match edge to edge. And once you get it matched up perfectly, again, hold it down with one of your hands while you guide your other fingers down from your other hand. Slide over, go back to the center, and then slide again. Okay, now pick it up again. Do your crispy creases. A lot of you that have older siblings that have been in my class, they're going to want to try this again, and they're going to at first maybe forget how to do it, and then all of a sudden they're going to be really good at it, and then they'll be able to help you. Okay, so you just did this. Now I want you to open it back up. Take your hand and kind of push it back up so it goes back to looking like the roof of a little building. Now, you're going to notice that there's a crease right here. You will not be doing another crease right here though. So you're going to put it like this. Now, this is one of the harder moves that we do in the beginning. So pay attention, and once you try this a few times, then you'll get it. Okay, what you're going to do is take your fingers on either side of this crease and just start pushing in, and you'll start to see that what you have looks sort of like a bow tie, kind of like Mr. Belanget's bow tie. So once you get it in like that, keep your forefingers in there, but then grab your thumbs, squeeze that flat like that, and then I take my other fingers and pull those in, and then you've got that. Then lay it down, and what you need to do now, again, is go over your creases. You'll see that these creases kind of want to fluff up a little bit, so you got to go like that, and even that center underneath this layer, you can feel that there are some other creases. Now do the same thing. Pick this up and crispy crease these all over again. Because again, I can't stress how important this aspect is. Okay, now you have a shape that looks like that. Okay, the next thing that we're going to do is put your left hand like that, and then with your right hand, grab this bottom. Don't grab the bottom layer, just the top layer. It's actually got two layers. Grab this tip with your thumb and your forefinger and bring it right up to the top tip. Okay, hold that down, and then you're going to run your finger up and down this crease. Okay, you need to make sure you hold that in place when you make this crease. Okay, now put your right hand on top of what you just did. Grab the left. Okay, hang on to that tip. Bring it up and over, up to the top, and this is going to match up with the top. It's going to butt up flush to this cut right here. Hold those both down, and you can see this is kind of trying to pull up a little bit. But once you take your other finger and crease that down, and then hold on again, and then crease this up, now it looks like that. Perfect. Okay, pick it up again, do your crispy creases. See Dylan and Scarlett, you guys remember this. Abby, who else did I have? Okay, now what we're gonna do is flip this over. We're gonna do the same thing. Okay, grab this, bring it up, over, and line this tip right up with the tip top. Okay, hold it down, and then with your other finger, come right down and run along that crease and scrape it with your fingernail so it's nice and crispy. Okay, now put your right hand down, pick up that left tip, bring that up to the top, hold that down once you have it where you want it, slide your other finger down, and then go crispy it along this crease here. Okay, now it looks like this. So again, you're going to want to pick this up and scrape with your fingernails so that it's really sharp, crispy creases. So now it looks like this. Okay. Now the next part, when the first couple of times that you do this, It's going to feel a little bit odd, but I do guarantee again, once you make a few attempts, then it's going to be, you're going to feel like, wow, why was that so hard before? Okay, so here's what I want you to do. I want you to turn your shape so that this cut is horizontal, okay? Put your hands like this. Now you're gonna lift up this top layer, and this tip right here is gonna butt up right up to this cut area. You're gonna bring it up over and place that tip right up to that edge. Here, I'm gonna zoom in a little bit. Give it a minute, because sometimes it takes a minute to, there, now you can see. You see how I have this lined up right there? Okay, hold that down and then bring your fingers down again and scrape with your fingernails so it looks like that. Okay, now flip it around and we're going to do the other side. Remember, you can watch this tape over and pause as many times as you need to if you need to see one of the steps again. Okay, so line that tip up and then scrape your fingernails along here. Okay, I'm going to lift that up and like that. All right, now what I'd like you to do is lay it back down, and do you see how these come up like that? So have this corner facing your belly button, okay? Now put your left hand down here, and with your right hand, sometimes when you do origami, you have to literally unwrap so that you can kind of do another fold. So I'm gonna pull this open, and then I'm gonna pick this up. I kind of call this a wing. So pull that up, set it down, and now you're gonna see these creases become really important, especially this one, okay? So now watch, I'm gonna come in with my left hand toward this crease right here. Okay, watch what I do. This is the part that's a little tricky. You're gonna be folding up and over on this crease. So watch. I'm gonna come up over, and now I need to move my left hand out of the way. Hold that down so that this part lines up with this, okay? Okay, now put your left hand right here, your left fingers, and you see how this flap, flap, flap is like that? Okay, here's what you're gonna wanna do now. Put your pointer finger on that flap and pull it down toward you. Okay, this wing, I will call it, because it will eventually be a wing, should line up with this. If it doesn't, just actually literally grab a hold of it, pull it to where it needs to be, and kind of recrease and then hold it down. Now, you'll see right here, this reminds me of, I don't know if you've ever, when you were little, made like a sailor hat out of a newspaper, but this sort of reminds me of the sailor hat. But do you see how it's trying to stick up? Here's what you do. I always think this part's kind of fun. Take your pointer finger and just flatten it right out. Flatten it and then scrape it, okay? So now what you have looks like that. Okay, I'd like you to turn your work this way. So it looks like this. We are going to be literally folding this wing up and over that way and line it up, and if get it right lined up along here, hold it down and then scrape out that crease again, okay? I know this seems complicated now, but it won't, I promise you. Okay, there's your first wing. Good job. Okay, now turn it back this way. Now you're going to put your right hand on here, and we're going to undo this fold. And then we're going to grab this wing and pull it up and out. And you will again see these creases become very important, especially this one. So now what you're going to do is come in with your right hand up to this crease. take your left pointer finger and fold it over this way. I'm going to tell you, some kids try to fold on this, but it's this vertical crease that you need. So watch, I'm going to fold it right over on that. Now hold that down, and you'll see you've got this little flappy thing again. Okay, so grab onto this flap with your finger, pull it down. Now I want to show you something. Do you see how this doesn't line up with this? It needs to. So I am literally going to take my pointer finger and my thumb, I'm going to lift it, and I'm going to pull it up so that it does meet up. And then I'm going to kind of scrape this crease out again. I'm literally going to force this wing to line up where I'd like it to be. I'm going to hold that down, and then I literally sometimes need to come back and re-scrape out this so it's slightly a new crease. But okay, focused on this. Here we've got our sailor hat again. Notice how it's trying to stick up because there's no crease right here. So what you're going to want to do is take your finger and flatten that baby right out. Okay, scrape it. Maybe lift it up, scrape out your creases again with your fingernails. Okay, now it looks like this. I'd like you to turn your work this way. Okay, now what we're going to do is the same thing we did before. Remember when we made the other wing? It's over here. Now we're going to take this wing, we're going to bend it over backwards, get it so it's lined up nicely, and once you have it, scrape that middle crease. Okay, now turn it this way and look what you have. Getting closer. Now you can see when you look at these that this is this, okay? All right. Now we need to do the same thing on the other side because this is just one side. Now we have to do the other side. So leave that flat, flip it over, so now it looks like this. Okay, you're going to turn it this way again and lift this up. Now notice that's right there, so don't bend that. You're going to lift this up and over, and this tip needs to line or butt right up against that center cut edge. Once you have it the way you like it, scrape that crease out with your fingernails again. All right, now flip it around. We're going to do the same thing on the opposite side. Flip this up, over, line it up with that center cut, and then crease that again. Lift it back up. Redo as many of the creases as you can, especially the ones you just did. Now, another thing that happens with origami, oftentimes, Neil, you probably know this, once you have a few folds together, it starts to get a little thick, but it then becomes even more important that you make sure that you have those creases really sharp and precise. Okay, now set this back down. Now it kind of looks like a rocket ship. Notice that we have this end, this corner end is facing your belly button again. So put your right hand on this side. With your left hand, open this up, lift up that wing and pull it up and out. Now you'll again see these are your other important creases, but this is the one, this vertical crease is the one that you're going to be folding on. So put your finger here and lift this up and over. Push it down, and you've probably already noticed this sort of looks like a cute little envelope. So hold that down, and then take your other pointer finger and grab onto this flap again. Pull that down. Now, again, you want this wing to line up with the one below it, and I guess I lucked out. This one seems to line up quite nicely, so I'm going to hold that down. And you'll see you've got your sailor hat again. Take your other finger and flatten it right down. Okay, scratch out that crease. Okay, now turn it this way because remember we're going to lift this wing up and over. Match it up with the wing behind it. And then once it matches up, hold it down and then scratch out that crease, okay? All right, we're almost there. And then we just have a few other little important things. Okay, so put it back like this, back to our rocket ship. Put your left hand on this side. Open this up and then lift out your wing. And there's that vertical crease that we need that's so very important. You're going to push this over on that crease. Hold it down again. Whichever hand feels the most comfortable to you. I happen to be left-handed, but I do sports and I iron and do lots of things with my right hand, so I guess it all feels pretty comfortable. Okay, so now take your other pointer finger, grab this flap, pull it down, hold that, and then you've got your sailor hat again. Flatten that out. Okay, now turn it this way. We're going to make that last wing. Exciting. Make sure you don't lift both of them up. Up and over, match it up with the wing behind it. And then make sure you make your crease as crispy as you can. Ooh, we're getting close. It's exciting. Okay, now I'm going to pick this up again. I'm going to go over my creases and you're going to be like, oh, again, do we have to? But it is really important. You'll see why in a minute. Okay, now I'm going to do something that I don't think is in the original directions, but over the years, I have come to realize that this is a really important step. I think it just helps. So I'm going to show you. What you need to do is put your hands on your wings like that. Grab this tip, and as I said, this is getting thick, but pull it up and over and tuck it right up in there so it fits. And then I want you to scratch that crease out. Okay? Now, when you do origami, sometimes you need certain folds to become a little bit weak. So if you fold it one way, then fold it back the other way, then fold it back one way, and then back the other way. So I'm going to do that, and then I'm going to fold it back up the opposite direction. And I'm going to scratch that out, and then I'm going to fold it back again. I'm going to keep doing that until it almost gets kind of easy. Because in a minute, we're going to literally blow up our golden snitch. And it is easier if you make this crease weak. Okay, so now it's pretty weak. See? Bendable, bendy, bendy. Okay, so I'm going to leave that one alone. Now we're going to do the hardest fold that there is because it's the thickest material. We're going to do the same thing with the top part. Okay, so face your rocket ship towards your belly. Put your hands like this. You're going to be folding right along here. So watch what I do. Again, this is not easy, but just do the best that you can. And then try really hard to, look how thick that is. It is quite thick. You might want to spend a little bit of time on that. Okay, now I'm going to do the same thing where I'm going to push it back down, but now I'm going to push it up on the other side. I want to weaken this crease as best as I can. Okay, and keep doing that till it gets a little more bendable, flexible. All right, I think we're ready. Okay, now the next part, you need to be as careful as you can. What you're going to do is take these two wings, hold them together, and hold this up like this. Grab the other two wings with your thumb and your forefinger, hold those together. Okay, what you're going to do, I'm going to tell you what I'm about to do before I do it. This top right here, I'm going to blow into that little hole right there. But while I do that, I'm going to be slightly pulling this out, but don't get too rambunctious because you don't want to rip it. But while I'm pulling this out and blowing into this hole, I'm literally gonna push this bottom down against my countertop, and the bottom is gonna end up popping out so it looks like the bottom of a grocery bag. Now do you see why we made those creases? The creases that we made here and here, those are what's gonna help us to pop this into the shape that we'd like. See, it's almost square. I mean, it is. Okay, so I'm gonna give this a try. Again, grab your two wings, hold these together on this side, grab your other two, pull them together, gently start to pull this out and push down on the bottom. And then what you're gonna do literally is put your mouth right on that, and you're gonna blow into it while you're sort of pushing down. So you're gonna wanna hold this down against the counter and put your head over it, okay? Okay, let me give this a try. All right, look at that. So I blew into the hole while I was gently pulling out, but not too hard. And as I did that, I pushed down. So now you've got your snitch. That's so exciting. So see, look at the bottom. I've got my grocery bag. And then the top, sometimes what I like to do, see how this one, the top is a little bit sharper. Sometimes I come through really carefully and I kind of play with the top edges just a little. You don't want to do too much though, because you don't want to ruin your nice work. All right, again, like I said, you might need to try 2 or 3 of these. Usually every year when we do this, we make quite a few. And the first time through, maybe a handful of kids get it. And then the second time we try it, maybe half the class gets it. And then the third time, more kids. And then usually by the 4th time, if we need to, we break up into partnerships, and sometimes kids that really have it down can help the other kids, and then everyone becomes an expert. So I hope that you enjoy making your golden snitch. Please make sure that you post your snitch on the art Padlet. If you need that website, again, I can send you the link. Just let me know, or let Miss Cohen or Mrs. Flutter know, because I can't wait to see what you come up with. All right, have a wonderful weekend. We'll see you next Friday.